Hello everybody, welcome back to more Art of War, Hell Hath No Fury. Sorry this video's up a little bit later than 2 o'clock. YouTube for some reason has decided that it doesn't want to let me use my webcam to stream because I use something other than Google Chrome, and it's trying to make me download Google Chrome to do it. And so, F it, I'm going back to recording the videos as normal and just uploading them because, well, if it wants to make life difficult for me, then I'll go and make life easier for me and go back to the way that I was doing it before. So, yeah. Where were we? We were up to chapter 10 yesterday. We did chapter 10 and left Martha and Olivia and Parker following an encounter that was a little bit strange and intimidating. Let's just leave it at that. I moved on to chapter 11. Chapter 11. You need to call your sister, Joe informed Amanda for the umpteenth time since they arrived home. She frowned, then sighed, flopped down on a sofa, covering her face with her arm as if to block out not only him but the entire world and everything within it. She'd already tried to contact her bloody sister several times. There'd been nothing but a dialing tone and she'd given up. Seriously, she didn't even know why the woman had a phone if she'd never answered the thing when you needed to speak to her. It was worse than the years of unanswered prayers because now she was back in town, which means she could be contacted. Only she never seemed to be able to pick up her damn phone and speak to her. A number for emergencies. If you say so, Martha. The reason why Amanda was so annoyed was obvious to herself, if not to anybody else who might think that she could cut her big sister some slack, given her all of her responsibilities. She was nervous, worried that something bad might have already come and taken her only remaining close blood relative away from her, something like the monster that she'd seen. Amanda knew that Martha fully intended to keep her as far away from the horrible realities of her other world for as long as she could. She was even able to understand why, though it grated more than a little. Martha was worried that the darkness she hunted would somehow corrupt or affect Amanda if she was exposed to it any further. She thought her baby sister needed saving from the darkness that had already taken so much away from her. If it wasn't so infuriating, it might be endearing, but Amanda was far too aware, thanks to her psychic boyfriend, that her sister was working alongside 2 other paranormal investigators from Empire that day, and that they were trying to track a killer that had butchered the witch who helped Amanda's father before he got himself killed by a demon. The witch who supplied the magic that had been used in that summoning. There was so much death. Amanda hated the thought of her sister being out there amongst the midst of it. No matter how well trained she might appear, it only took one incident, one monster to come along who was more violent and more determined than Martha, and Amanda would be alone, with no family left in Marytown. Nobody but Joe, who appeared to be standing over her, waiting for a response. To what question she didn't know, so she smiled, peeking up at him from underneath her arm, because she couldn't possibly ever move. With his hand on his hip, he asked, "Did you hear what I said? Something about magically making Martha pick up her damn phone?" "Actually, I offered to drive you to Empire," he clarified, seeming amused by her snippiness. To be fair, she had been taking it out on him. Just a little. "No, thank you." "No, thank you," she huffed. "I don't want to be a burden." Joe laughed, definitely amused. "Are you kidding me?" "No." She shook her head. "Yes." "Oh, I don't know. All I want is to lay on this sofa, forget all about stupid nightmares and my stupid sister and her inability to answer the phone and not go anywhere else. I'm done." "You're done?" "I'm so done." He wriggled a suggestive little eyebrow down at her. "So, no more being a burden on your poor, long-suffering boyfriend. However will he cope?" She pouted up at him. "Shut up." "You're not a burden." He dropped to his knees by the edge of the sofa. "I love having you here. It means I get to do things like this whenever I want to." With that, he made an over-dramatic display of trying to infiltrate the barrier that she'd constructed against the world, sticking his shaggy head under her arm like a puppy dog, desperately seeking love from its human, no matter the effort that it cost him or how ridiculous he looked. Joe succeeded in his mission, and pretty soon he was up on the sofa on top of her, nuzzling away at her neck and spreading kisses across her cheeks, making her wriggle with laughter as he now engaged in a battle with her coat, which he was trying to valiantly get undone, only she was giggling so much that she couldn't breathe properly and he was getting quickly irked. "Damn thing," he muttered. "Let me at her." Amanda stopped wriggling and tried to compose herself while it finally obeyed his demands, and then she helped him to remove it from her, tossing it to the floor. Wrapping both her arms around his neck, she turned her face towards him and met his renewed gestures of affection with her own, sharing little kisses that grew into one long lingering kiss that made her stop laughing altogether and feel something more enjoyable than worry and fear and devastation and loss and everything negative that she'd been battling with that day. It was so easy to get lost in the wake of his love. No wonder, really, why she'd rather be here with him than returning to her parents' home, sharing moments like this whenever they wanted to. If anything good could be salvaged from the tragedy that had befallen her family, it was how much stronger it had made her relationship with Joe. He'd become her rock, her safe place, her absolute everything. And so she stopped thinking for a while, long enough for him to be able to show her precisely why he'd always been so supremely confident in his ability to be a very attentive boyfriend. Really, with the skills he possessed, she'd never stood a chance. Best thing that had ever happened to her. Curled up on his side on the sofa some time later, Amanda had all but forgotten the worst of her problems, thinking that there couldn't be a damn thing that was better for the soul than impromptu love-ins with a person who knew you more intimately than anybody ever could or would again. Not to be outdone, Joe brushed the hair back from her ear and whispered, "Would you like me to make some hot chocolate?" She marvelled. "I always want you to make hot chocolate." He smiled, totally smug. "I am aware of this." "Yes," Amanda nodded, pushing at him impatiently. "Go, do it now." With a determined flourish, he extricated himself from the intricate tangle of human limbs that had formed between them and got up off the sofa, finding his jeans amongst a pile of clothes on the floor, covering what little modesty he had left. A bit of a shame. He leant down and gave Amanda one more kiss, saying, "Try calling your sister again. I shall make the drinks. You go grab the duvet, fire up Netflix, and prepare for the chilling." Gazing up at him, Amanda marvelled. "You're so good to me." I know. I sicken myself. I do." He disappeared out of the nearby door which led into the kitchen, leaving her alone, but feeling much better. Stretching out her body, she endeavoured to try one more time to reach her sister. It took quite a bit of rummaging to locate her coat and then grab a phone from its pocket, haul it back up onto the sofa with her. Such hardship. But Joe was being so good to her as the least she could do. There were no missed calls nor messages, so she knew that Martha hadn't attempted to respond, and she wasn't exactly brimming with surprise when she accessed her call log, hit the first number listed, and it waited, bored that the thing rang out in her ear. Ending the failed call, she yelled, "Still no answer." "Try ringing Empire," Joe called back, sounds of banging ceramic and steel accompanying his response. Hard at work, making her yummy treats. Conceding to his advice, she located the number in her phone book, gave it a whirl, and what do you know, as if by some technological miracle, the call connected and was immediately answered. A female voice said, "Good evening, this is the Marytown Paranormal Investigation Agency." "Hi." "Hello," she spoke, feeling somewhat nervous. "It's Amanda Ford. I'm looking for my sister. Do you know if she's there or where she might be if she's not?" She pointedly felt the need to ask. "She's not answering her phone and I need to speak to her. It's getting to be urgent." "Oh, hello, Miss Ford," the secretary responded. It sounded like she was genuinely pleased to help. "No, your sister here isn't here anymore. She went out with Miss Maxwell and Mr. Parker earlier this afternoon. I did take a call a little while ago informing us that there'd been a small incident in the field that required medical attention. Miss Valentine is still with them, I believe." Amanda's heart slammed into her chest. She sat bolt upright. "Medical attention," she repeated. "Did somebody get hurt?" "It appears that Mr. Parker's picked up a minor injury. But other than attesting to him being, and I quote, a bloody idiot, I believe that Miss Maxwell told the director that he was going to be fine." The woman paused for a moment, perhaps to catch her breath. "Would you like me to pass along a message to your sister as she returns to the office?" "Can you tell her to check her phone, please?" Hilary appeared to find that amusing, stating, "I most certainly can." "Thanks. Have a good evening. And you too, Miss Ford." Ending the call, Amanda sat there in a daze, staring at her phone in her hand for much too long. A whole host of things running through her mind. It wasn't until Joe called her name from the kitchen that she managed to snap herself out of it. God, she hated all of this, every single bit of it. Pushing herself to her feet, she located her jeans and vest and quickly threw them on, heading into the other room. She found Joe standing in front of the stove. There was a small pan on the hob bubbling away. Oh yes, he'd gone to make hot chocolate. She'd almost forgotten. Struggling to make sense of what she was thinking, feeling, she informed him, apparently they've gone to the hospital because Parker got hurt while they were out investigating that witch's death. Olivia told Hilary that it was minor. He's going to be fine. Martha must still be there with him. Makes sense, Joe nodded. "You okay?" She shook her head. "I don't know." Carefully balancing the chocolate-laden wooden spoon that he'd been using on the top rim of a nearby jug, Joe came across the small room, placed both his hands on her arms, and steered her to the two-seated dining table, where he encouraged her to sit down. Once her bottom was firmly planted on the soft leather seat of a cushion, she peered up at him, and she blinked, then beseechingly wondered, "Was this what I saw today?" Rather than assuring her, he asked, "What did Hill say?" "Not much," she shook her head. "Just that he picked up an injury in the field and they took him to get medical assistance. Olivia said that he was an idiot. I asked her to get Martha to check her phone if she goes back to Empire, but I don't know. I'm not even sure what happened, Parker." "Okay." Without asking, he plucked the phone from her hand. Pressing some buttons, he headed back to the stove and stirred the hot chocolate so that it wouldn't stick to the bottom of the pan and burn her delicious treat. Watching him balancing the phone to his ear with his shoulder, Amanda vaguely thought that she should offer to mine the simmering liquid for him, but she stayed where he'd put her, probably for the best. She'd only muck it up. Joe spoke into the handset, the call he'd made being miraculously answered also, jokingly saying, "So, on a scale of 1 to infinity, how many times has she called you an idiot?" Unable to hear the other end of the call as her boyfriend was opting not to use speakerphone, Amanda tried her best to follow along with the conversation, a bystander to what was unfolding between her eyes and her ears. Yeah, her boyfriend laughed, seemingly happy enough. "Amanda's been trying to get hold of Valentine all afternoon. Is she there with you?" There was a short pause. "She is? How come?" Then a lengthier pause, one that caused Joe to momentarily cease staring the hot chocolate, eyebrows raising as he shook his head in disbelief. "Was that before or after you pissed off the princess?" He nodded along with the next long explanation, humming at every passing sentence, and eventually said, "Shit, not good." "You alright? Is she?" A small chuckle. Joe nodded. "Yeah, she does that. I don't envy you, mate." One last pause. "Take it easy, yeah." A few seconds later he hung up. Tossed the phone onto the kitchen counter. Amanda felt like she couldn't breathe again. She pushed him for a response, waited a bit longer. Frustrated, she finally asked him, "Well?" Joe held up a finger, indicated that he needed a minute to do whatever wonderful culinary magic he was busy concocting on the stove. Amanda waited a minute, then a minute more. Felt like she was going to have to give up hot chocolate for life, never drink the stuff ever again, because she'd have harrowing memories of that one time she dumped a poundful of it over her inconsiderate boyfriend's head, simply because he made her wait, when he knew she was so anxious she might explode. Turning off the heat, Joe finally turned around to face her. And she knew before he opened his mouth what he was about to say. "Parker's injury had nothing to do with what you saw," she urged him. "However, but there was another incident outside the clinic. There was a demon waiting for them when they got out, a nasty one. Martha confronted it and it fled the scene. They're all fine, Amanda. It was the monster that I saw. In my premonition, maybe." Feeling incredulous, she repeated, "Maybe?" "The witch that they were investigating, the one that gave your dad the necklace." He phrased it as a question, as if she might have been able to forget such a thing. Her spirit's still active in the old house. It attacked Olivia using wraiths or something when they went in search of the place. It went in to search the place, and Parker went berserk and got himself hurt trying to rescue her. Amanda felt her eyes go wide with shock. "Oh my God." "I know, right?" Joe asked rhetorically. He shook his head. "I can't give you any more answers than what Parker gave me, but between the demon that showed up randomly to try its hand against your sister and the woman who had some part to play in your father's death, I think this is all getting too personal for you, and that's why you've been having these dreams." Feeling indignant, Amanda questioned, "Dreams?" "Visions," he corrected himself. "I still believe they're metaphysical. It's not your grief or your anxiety making you see things that aren't real. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think that it's becoming personal, because it's about people that you know." She finally agreed with him. Maybe. It made sense, but it didn't change the fact that she was seeing things, horrible things that she knew wanted to hurt the people that she loved. Demons, witches, whatever those things were that Joe had said that had attacked Olivia Maxwell and hurt Michael Parker. It was too much to take in. Nervously, Amanda asked, "Where's my sister?" Parker said that she went somewhere to debrief her Nephilim friend about what happened with the demon. He got there seconds after the bastard took tail and ran, and he wanted to speak with Martha alone. Parker didn't want to go into any more details than that. He shrugged. Understandable, I guess. Amanda nodded, unwilling to make any sort of comment about the situation because she didn't know or want to know the ins and outs of her sister's personal life. All that mattered to her was that Martha had people in her life who cared about her and who looked after her. It didn't matter who they were or if they got along. That wasn't Amanda's burden to carry. Not her problem, so long as they didn't break her sister's heart. Undeniably, the whole situation had been fraught with danger, and she hoped that Martha was all right. That this demon had learned a lesson in trying to ambush the team outside of Empire while she was there, standing by to protect them. And she had what appeared to be a capable, reliable Nephilim warrior on standby to assist her whenever she seemed to need the backup. If it was indeed the same monster that Amanda had seen in her visions, then this first encounter already shattered the terrifying myth that she'd created within her own head. The people that she knew were unharmed, except for Michael Parker, who seemed to have an understandable reason for why he'd gotten injured. Reckless, but understandable. Maybe this was going to be okay. God, she needed to hear her sister's voice so badly, if only so that Martha could tell her not to worry so much. Amanda, her boyfriend, spoke out loud, seemingly trying to capture her attention. When he knew that he'd snagged it, he added, "She'll call you back when she gets a chance, okay? Everyone's fine. They're safe." "I know that she will." "I'm going to say something that's probably going to make you hate me, but it needs to be said." He frowned, a little glumly, as he thought that there could ever possibly be a thing that would get her to instantly hate him. As he proceeded, "I think you should consider going back to work. You miss being at the gallery. I know that you do. And you're always so much happier when you're painting. I think you should get into the studio and get the things that you've been seeing out of you, get it down onto the canvas. Try and purge yourself of all these images that you've got in your head. Let them go so that maybe you can move on from this. Find other things to replace all the horrible shit that you've been seeing lately." Amanda nodded, not hating him. "You might be right. And also, please, hear me out. I think you should be coming to see Sebastian with me a lot more often." He held up his hands as if he anticipated her verbal protestation, saying, "I know that today was rough, and that it scared you, because it scared me too. I don't like the thought of you going through anything like that again. But with what's going on with your telepathy and these visions, I think you're going to need ongoing help. You need him, like I needed him. And he wants to help you. He genuinely cares." Though she found herself wanting to argue because it had been a very rough first encounter, Amanda found herself saying, "Yes, okay." Joe looked genuinely surprised. "Okay." "You're right," she conceded. "I need help. This precognition thing isn't going to go away, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of sense in me trying to master it alone. It won't stop because I had a bad experience the first time I tried to control it. I need to know if it can ever be a good thing rather than a bad and scary thing. I need to be able to know how to transform it into a good thing if it is a bad thing. Because I can't go on like this." She frowned. "Does that make sense? Or am I just rambling now? I kind of feel like I'm rambling." "Perfect sense," Joe smiled, as if he found her adorable. "I'm glad you're willing to do this. It won't be easy, but I'll be there, I promise." "I know you will." Battling a wave of exhaustion, Amanda yawned loudly, which gave her another reason not to be stubborn about allowing Sebastian to mentor her. But she didn't like the idea of going through anything like they had that afternoon, and frankly just sleeping in general ever again. She needed to be able to function like a normal human being, and human beings needed to be able to get a good night's sleep so they didn't go insane or something like that. A real-life medical necessity. "You know," Joe's voice infiltrated her thoughts in a lilting way that denoted he was happily going to attempt to distract her again. "If you're that sleepy, we can forgo the shows and take this hot chocolate up to bed. I know a few relaxation techniques to help you sleep, and you can do that thing you did when you went under before. Without the licks at this time, it might be fun." It took Amanda far too long to grasp what he was implying, mostly because she'd gotten sidetracked by all that damn innuendo. Perhaps Joe deliberately popped a recollection into her mind, but she found herself thinking back to the moments before she'd fallen into the nightmare state, as she now inevitably viewed it. She recalled sensing both his and Sebastian's energy signatures, being drawn to the one that she knew well, wrapping it around herself like a comfort blanket that had felt so wonderful, helping her feel close to him, a metaphysical cuddle that had kept him with her, taking him with her into the dream. Confused, Amanda stated, "To be honest, I thought you did that." "No, it was you. You reached out for me and made that happen, so you can easily do it again," he grinned at her. "With the right motivation, in the right setting." Rising to his obvious bait, Amanda gazed at him from under her lashes, and with her best attempt at being demure, said, "Are you implying that you want to come and hang out in my dreams with me, young Joseph?" "I'm declaring that I want to have really naughty dreams with you," he said. You mean intentionally this time, she pointed out, popping some of her own memories back into his head. Memories of how he'd once used their psychic connection that they'd easily formed to flirt with her, by giving her some rather salacious food for thought that she'd been unable to ignore or react to. Things that had stayed with her long after he was gone from her sight. Looking incorrigibly smug, he held out his hand and says, "What can I say? I'm an obvious dreamboat," before turning back around to the stove and making a start at pouring the fabulous-looking hot chocolate he'd made into 2 oversized mugs. Once they were mostly full, he added, "Seriously, this could be good for you, for both of us. It's a way of mastering your control." Amanda had to admit she was tempted. It'd be rather lovely to feel that connection with her boyfriend again, to be able to bring him into her subconscious while she slept so that she knew she'd have backup in case she had more nightmares. He'd be shaken by what had happened at the Adept's house, and he wanted another shot at the endeavour, one that he could take back control of, shape into something that they could perhaps make regular use of. Intimate implications aside, it was a really nice idea. Sighing, Amanda said, "Tell me it'll be okay, and I'll believe you." "I promise I'll do everything in my power to make sure you have some really, really sweet dreams tonight." Smiling, Joe asked, "Will that be enough?" "It's plenty good enough." As he gleefully added the finest glorious touches to their hot chocolate, Amanda was utterly convinced that he'd rise to the challenge. He always did. Joe Walsh was proficient at many a splendid psychic feat because he'd always been willing to try new things and push the boundaries of his knowledge and experience. Amanda had always wished that she could be so brave. In reality, she was much more conservative about her metaphysical talents and other things that her boyfriend had taught her how to enjoy in the confines of their consensual adult relationship. She knew that she was telepathically gifted, but had always stayed in her lane, as she had in many other ways. Maybe it was time to try and be more adventurous. Armed with all the cream and all of the marshmallows topping her hot chocolate, she decided to leave her worries behind her, if only for the rest of the evening. She would let her Joe lead the way, taking her by the hand to embark upon a new approach, and she felt like the luckiest girl in the world. Okay, so that was chapter 11. Short, quite short compared to yesterday's chapter, and a little bit of a breather from the tense situation that happened before. I apologise for not going straight back to Martha, making you wait for that, but it's nice to check in with Amanda and Joe. I enjoy writing them. They have a really good relationship, and it's a lot of fun. He is a lot of fun. He's a great character to write, and Amanda is embarking upon a story where she's sort of coming of age, but she's a little bit further ahead of that, and she's trying to work out who she is and her place in the world and what she can do and how she can go about it. And it's nice to have those little grounded relationship moments and interpersonal moments. When I first started doing this book, I mentioned about the process that I'd gone through and the first versions of it and some things that I weren't happy with, and one of those things were about Joe particularly, and Amanda a little bit. I felt like of all the characters in the book, he wasn't getting the time on the page that he deserved to show kind of who he is and like what he's about and what matters the most. And having those moments, I think really was really good, just to show those nice personal moments, because that's what it's all about. It's all about, the people and that sort of thing. And yeah, I'm not going to go on too much because I'll ramble and I'll end up spoiling things, which nobody wants. So yes, once again, thank you for joining me. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully, fingers crossed. And yeah, I hope everybody's okay and taking care of themselves. If you had some fun yesterday for VE Day, I hope you were all sensible and as sensible as you can be, and take care of yourselves and aren't feeling the effects of it too much today. Personally, I got a little bit too much sunshine and drunk a little bit too much cider yesterday, and so I was in bed by about 8:30, like passed out. Yeah, too much. But yeah, we were sensible. We were very sensible about everything, but it's been a while since I've had a drink in the sun. And I'm old, so I went straight to sleep afterwards. Yeah. Well, take care of yourselves, everybody, and I will see you next time. Thank you, as always, for watching.